Good afternoon, Mr. Kowalczyk here with another video for Business Math. And today we find ourselves in section 10-3. In section 10-3, we're still talking about buying a house and borrowing money to buy that house. As a reminder, whenever you borrow money to buy a house, you're taking out a loan. But it's not just any type of loan. It's known as a mortgage. And so, the mortgage is borrowed usually from a bank to buy a house. But there are other fees associated with buying that house other than just the cost of the house. Those other fees are known as closing costs. And there are all types of closing costs out there in the world. And if you look over here, you can see what those are. There's a credit report because people need to know if you have good credit before you buy the house and before you borrow the loan. There's a loan origination fee, an abstract of the title, an attorney fee. Why an attorney? Because you want to have someone really smart look over that legal document that you're signing. Because when you sign a document for $132,000, we're dealing with a big-time contract. And you want to have an attorney look that over to make sure everything's fine. There's a documentation stamp and then a processing fee. These are all of the different types of closing costs that you may have to pay when you go to buy a house and when you go to take out a loan. So, we've got some numbers that we're going to use over here to help us figure out what these costs actually are. And when we're doing that, what we're actually doing is step number 1. Once you've done step number 1, and what that means is finding all of these different dollar amounts and adding them up to find the total, you can then move on to step number 2, which helps us find the actual amount that's being financed or the actual amount that's being borrowed from a bank. So, with no further ado, let's jump right into this problem as it is directly from your homework. Problem number 1 from your homework. The Kowalczyks take out a mortgage loan for $132,000. They're going to use it to buy a new house. Using the table up above, we need to answer the following questions. And we have to show our work, of course. What are the total closing costs? Well, the first thing we need to do is start adding and all of those closing costs up. Well, the first one is the credit report. Now, for the credit report, it's going to cost $65. We then have the loan origination fee. Now, the loan origination fee is kind of different because what we have to do is we have to multiply. We're going to take 2%, and by the way, you can change that to 0.02, and we're going to multiply it times the actual dollar amount for the loan, the mortgage. So, once you multiply that all out, you get $2,640. All right, so far so good. We're looking pretty good. Now we can move on down to the abstract of title. Now, for those of you who are paying attention and you're following along and you're looking at this video, I want to tell you, you don't have to write these words that I'm writing, but you do have to do the math. You do have to have the math written out. So I'm putting in the 120. There we go. We got an attorney fee. That attorney fee is going to be $250. And so some of you might be looking at this going, oh my goodness, where is he getting all these numbers from in green? I'm getting them from that closing costs table up in the top right. With the purple and the white words of closing costs, that's where I'm getting these numbers from. I'm almost done. I got documentation stamp. Now, for the documentation stamp, I'm going to have to multiply. As a reminder, just like with loan origination, we're going to have a percentage. In this case, it's 0.3%. But I'm going to move that decimal over, and I'm going to get 0.003. And because the word of is up there, 0.3% of the mortgage, I'm going to multiply once again. And once again, I will use the mortgage amount. So, I've got that all written out. And now I multiply it. And what I get is $396. $396. And now I can do the processing fee. The processing fee, once again, we're multiplying. I'm going to go ahead and move the decimal over so it's 0.011. If you want to have that other 0, that's fine. And I'm going to multiply that times the amount of the mortgage. All right. And I get $1,452.00. So, I've just added up, or I've not just added, I've just listed out all of the different closing costs. I had to do a little bit of multiplication in order to find 3 of them, but now I can add them up, because that's the big thing. I need to be able to add them all up, just like it says right here. Add them all up. All right? So, I'm going to just go ahead and set it up. Boom. Boom. Got my plus sign in there. Now I've taken out my calculator and I've begun to do the addition. After adding them all up, I come up with $4,923. Now, I can write that out right over here. $4,923. So I've shown my work, and I've written the answer over there on the line. See, step number 1 for letter A, step number 1, maybe I should put that right here, step 1. That's probably the hardest, and it's not really super hard, it just looks kind of complicated. It's not that complicated. You do a little bit of multiplication, and then you add things up. But there is some things you got to do, so it makes it a little bit more annoying, if anything. Now it's time to move on to letter B. What is the actual amount that we are going to finance for this mortgage? So I can do step number 2 now. Step number 2, I take the original amount of the mortgage, which is that $132,000 number, and now I'm going to add it to my closing costs that we just calculated for letter A. And what do we get? We get $136,923. So, the Kowalczyks, when they go to buy this house, they're going to take out a big loan for $136,000 or $136,923. So, if you had any problems following along with this, feel free to go back and rewatch the video, maybe pause it in a few spots that we can really understand things, or of course, come and talk to Mr. K. Thanks, and have yourself a great afternoon.